So we are going to start, so you can take your seats. That would be absolutely great. So yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm going to be I'm the curator of Art Dubai Digital, and I'm also moderating this session, which I title, going back into my notes, Ecological Activism through Digital Art. That was it. Beyond the title, that is less important. What is important is these three people who have had a very special role in this edition of Art Dubai, because the three of them have been commissioned to create installations across different places. So Ania Soliman, for those who haven't seen her work is in the Museum foyer. So if you arrive from the souk, you will see it, and we will see probably like some pictures of it, so you can like visualize it. The other two works by Jacopo Di Cera and Breakfast are here in this hall. One of them is up on the top of the escalator, the golden one, the kinetic sculpture that is reacting to you, and we will be also talking about by Breakfast. And the one that you can see just outside the auditorium with the 30 upcycle screens is by Jacopo Di Cera. So just to give you a little bit of context on some of the topics that we are going to discuss, I'm going to give you an outline. Digital artists are increasingly engaging with pressing environmental issues by using cutting-edge tools like immersive installations, virtual reality, and generative art. They might sound very controversial because in some way, like if we trace back like the origin of the current climatic emergency that we are facing, we can trace it back to the first industrial revolution. Now we are living like the fourth or fifth industrial revolution, which is digital. It depends who you read it. You can like put it on the fourth or the fifth. And that is due to like our increasing demand on media and communication technologies, which is at the same time like the medium that like in some way like the three artists use through their work. So this is creating like some frictions, but at the same time we can use that technology to start building empathy to very complex issues around climate change. And trying to translate like the data that is normally used to like measure climate change and that we keep on the headlines in terms of like millions of tons of CO2 that are thrown into the atmosphere, or like the temperatures of the rising temperatures of the oceans, or the percentage of like waste that is not recycled. So those are like numbers that we see on a daily basis on the news, on the papers, and because we are seeing them in such a regular basis, we barely understand like the complexity and the impact that they have on the world. And it's through art what I think like where we can like empathize more with those issues that are on a crisis level. So the work of this artist it's trying to address in some cases more directly to ideas around climate change. Some others is more related to nature. But we would like to discuss about like all this with them after the presentation. So I invited them to do like very brief presentation, kind of like a Pecha Kucha TED Talk, even shorter, I would say. After that, we will have like material for asking questions. And if you have any question, please keep them in mind so we can like create like a conversation, given that we are like at this late time of the evening, very few of us, but we can have like a conversation that is a little bit more dynamic. Our first speaker will be Jacopo Di Cera, who is born in Milan in 1981 and who worked for several years in the world of communications and marketing on the dark side. And then at some point he decided to move into the artistic side. It was a beautiful side also, yes. Yeah, but dark.
I decided to be Luke Skywalker, you know.
Yeah. He also ran the Immaterica Collective, that you can see their booth at the entrance of the digital section. His work is like moving, it's probably more associated to the digital photography that he normally do with drones, but he also developed other works that go beyond like the digital photography, like the one that we presented at the entrance of the section that is called Retreat. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Jacopo.
Thank you. Do you have a slider? Oh, which is?
Let's try.
The big button at the top. This one? Okay, right. Okay, thanks a lot. I'm Jacopo Di Cera. Thanks for the presentation. Very briefly, my background: I am a photographer, visual and digital artist. 10 years ago, I switched my point of view. So I try to see the world from a different point of view, that is from above. It would have been a choice that helped me to see the different human connection and the connection between human and the territory and the human and tradition. That is, my work started with the drone, as Gonzalo said, and helped me to see the things in a different way, putting all the people and all the person at the same layer, because there is no deepness now in my work. And this is the work started in my country, Italy, where we are full of way of doing things, and this is the exploration and the research that I've done through my art and through my photography in this case. So we are seeing now different elements that can be example of what I have done in this year. And I started, as anticipated by Gonzalo, also the digital experiment 5 years ago. And I tried to enter in the digital way, in the digital world, asking me what can be done through this media on my arts. And I initiated this journey through a definition of infinity loop, a definition of time. The research of the time was the main fil rouge of my work, and I explode this art. Oh, is working? No, it's not moving. Anyway, okay, let's do only with this one. And I've done this work through this infinity loop where there is no end, no beginning. And in this way, I wanted to question myself, what is happening if an action lasts forever? What's happening for emotion, for what you feel when you see these artworks? Because the feeling and emotion at the end of the game are the real, in my opinion, the real objective of any kind of artworks that we generate. And oh yeah, now it works. And so this eternal loop is giving us some emotion. So the point is which kind and how long it can last. So this experiment, this is research, let me say, started 5 years ago and is still going, and you can see also here in the fair. Going to the topic, the main topic regarding the main theme that Gonzalo shared for this discussion, I want to present Retreat. Retreat is a project that I've done in collaboration with Cifra that you can see exactly out of this door. It started from a need to talk about an important topic that is climate change. Climate change is touching my country a lot, but also I think many other countries. So it's touching the globe, all the world. In Italy, we have the retreats of glacier. We have a lot of flooding every month. We have during the summer a lot of fires. So we are touching with our hands and with our skin what is happening to the globe. So what we designed is this installation where we have the glacier of Mont Blanc that is retreating very, very fast. It is retreated in the last 100 years of 300 meters, but only in the last 10 years, 200 meters. So that means that there is an acceleration impressive, no? And we need to talk about it. We need to create an experience, create a feeling. And the objective of this installation was to do that. The installation has been done by 40 monitors, totally sustainable. That is another important topic that we are probably going to share with our colleagues, because the technology has to be part of the journey that we decide to do and to do in order to create what we want to create. And the sound that you can hear going out of there has been generated by hundreds of sound of glacier breaking in the walls and combined in one single track. So one single voice coming from the nature asking us to do something. So just to conclude, the objective of this work is to talk, not to talk, but to try to generate an awareness and especially a feeling, positive or negative, but a feeling, because once you generate feeling, you generate awareness, and once you start to generate an awareness, you generate caring. And if you start to have caring, you probably start to do something. So that's my way of doing and approaching this important topic that is, I mean, touching us every day. I hope to have been quite quick.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
That have been perfect. Yeah, so thank you so much. Now we are moving to our next speaker, Ania Soliman. Ania is an Egyptian Polish-American artist who grew up in Baghdad and is currently based between Paris and New York. Her practice encompasses large-scale drawings and paintings derived from AI-generated imagery and archival material, extending into text, performance, video, and installation. Soliman's research-based work explores cultural transition, examining how representations mediate our relationship with nature and technology. Through intricate processes of tracing, desaturating, smudging, coloring, and embellishing, she transforms source materials into layered works. These pieces serve as icons for healing processes within unconscious negotiations between bodies and the culturally and digitally determined languages inhabiting our minds.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna actually go up to the podium. So I have a script to make it shorter. Is the mic on? Yes, can you hear me? Great. Okay, so I think some of this stuff is going to make sense in the context of the other presentations, because I am a painter and drawer, so I bring the body back in. And I want to talk, I was told to just speak about my commission, so I'm going to talk about it. And does it work? Okay. So the work in this commission really began with a power outage, and I think this is relevant because we're talking a lot about the digital, but like sometimes when the electricity goes out, you really begin to think about the power that goes into maintaining the technological culture we're in. So a few years back, I was in Beirut working on an exhibition, and the electricity in the city is run by private generators fueled by oil. And so the power goes on and off all the time because they can't run 24 hours a day. And this experience really made me think about electricity in a new way. So not just as something that comes out of a wall that powers our devices, but something that is like an energy that moves through bodies and time and space, and a form of translation. So it's a metaphor, but it's also an actual practical material condition that often remains in the background. So kaharba is the Arabic word for electricity. Does this work? Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. So in Beirut, I made two sorts of works, and the first one was actually a translation work where I used an online translation tool which gave me these poetic mistranslations of the Arabic word. And here's one of them, resurrecting light. So these phrases also became titles for the paintings that I made. Okay, so resurrecting light made me think that the sunlight that hit the earth millions of years ago was captured by plants and then died, and then turned into the oil that powers the generators that lit up the screens that I was using. So the second set of works were these large spray paintings that combine machine parts and plant motifs, which I'm showing here. But this doesn't stop there. So the next phrase, the mistranslation, was chemical emotions. And the light that is electrically produced is filtered through digital space. And then I see stuff to buy, or dead bodies, or cats, and that generates impulses, electric impulses in my brains that then generate emotions. So it's really bringing back the body into thinking about technology. And so the trigger, so these electrical impulses in the neurons. So I began seeing electricity as something that also operates in the organic, and a function of attention, and also an element of seeing. So something that is really intricately related to also our physical bodies. So for the commission in Dubai, I wanted to take these ideas further, and I've been working for the past 2 years with generative AI, so I used an image building algorithm to make a new set of works. And I fed the machine installation views of the blue paintings, the painting titles, and then a curated set of prompts. And so the way I work with AI is a process of experimentation, like a form of research. So I generate hundreds of images, and then I select some to paint, to physically, again, move them through my body. And one of these things that came out were these strange robotic figures with all the stuff around them, so like consumer culture objects, like on the floor, and then the outfits and the jewelry. And so yeah, these figures really reminded me of how our nervous systems are overstimulated by digital culture and the cognitive noise. But they also, and they literally, so yeah, the way AI works is it breaks down the stuff that's stored online, which I've been thinking like as the digital unconscious, and then reassembles it according to the linguistic structures that we feed into it. And so they really kind of literally represent this process, but they also suggest like the pleasures and the anxieties, and the anxiety that a lot of us feel of a culture focused on consumption and extraction and competition. So stimulation, excitement, burnout, but then which kind of literally mirrors the burning of our environment. And I'm going to wrap up very quickly. This was sort of designed to be a longer presentation, but I'm going to wrap up and say, okay, so like who is building digital spaces? And so here are some actual robots made by engineers. And then I think that an ongoing theme in my work is about not separating the technical environment from the natural. So the ecological thinking really has to take place within technical environments. And I'm not sure exactly how. But this is speculative, but I think it's about like world building and generating new imaginaries. And I don't know, I'm going to just run through these slides very quickly because Gonzalo and I talked about a different topic. I don't know if there's time. I don't want to take up too much time. But so I really work with this as research. So what I did with AI, so to touch on a perhaps different topic, what I did was to put in the term kahraba into AI and see what comes out. And it read Arabic and then generated these images. And so, for example, resurrecting light. So it's also about data set bias. Resurrecting light gives you bombed out buildings. And then shaking the nerves of animals gives you these like neo-Orientalist images. So it's also about thinking about the ecology of the images online and what you do with it and how we can put it in a different direction. I'm going to stop now because I think it's too... Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hello. I'm going to stand, but
Breakfast.
over here.
Do you mind if I introduce
you? Oh, I'm
you?
sorry. Yeah. I'll behave.
No worry. Thank you so much, Ania. I think it's really good to obviously when we are talking about ecology, many people might focus on environment, on thinking about the environment. And ideas around nature, but what is true is we take it from the philosophical point of view of Guattari, ecology is something that goes beyond. It needs to go into society, it needs to go into economy, and these multiple layers that are completely intertwined and that we don't often know and try to put in silos. Our last speaker, our last presentation before we jump into the conversation is breakfast. Which is the artistic name, the professional name for Andrew Zolzi. He's a data and kinetic artist whose mesmerizing sculptures transform real-time data into moving physical stories. Driven by a lifelong passion for art, technology, and engineering, Breakfast translates natural phenomena, such as ocean tides in Normandy or solar flares on the sun, into dynamic, tangible experience. He had built like a world-renowned studio at the intersection of creativity and engineering, and one of his work is Carbon Wake, that is upstairs, on top of like the booth that we can see in the digital section. So thank you, Solti.
Okay. I tend to talk with my body, so I'm just gonna stand up. So I am a digital kinetic artist. I'm based out of Brooklyn, and I've been making this kind of work for about 15 years, and have now built up a team of about 17 people with engineers coming from some really amazing places, and I use data, real-time data, specifically to tell stories. Essentially, I don't know how many of you have been able to get over to the booth, but pretty much since a child, I've always just been obsessed with interaction and technology, and so all my pieces, I just try to make them fun and exciting and kind of playful. And if you go over there, there were a lot of kids over there today. It's very, it's like a playground. But on the other side of things, the topics that mean so much to me are the things that are kind of scary about the world right now. And so I'm always trying to find the balance between these kind of interactive, playful experiences that are very kinetic and moving, but I really want to be talking about climate change and sort of the conundrum between those two things. And so the way that I actually tell these stories is by using real-time data. There are billions of sensors all around the world. I don't want to just make a picture per se to maybe talk about climate change. I want to show it happening in real time from a sensor that might be in the middle of the ocean, showing that the ocean is actually warmer than it should be. I'm just going to blast through a whole lot of pieces really quick. So this one, I think, kind of explains it as literally as possible. This is a piece called Antarctic Ice that uses this flip disk medium I've been using for some time. This is connected to NASA's real-time data of the melting ice sheets in the Antarctic, and so the piece actually is connected to the web, getting that data in real time and melting down to what is essentially the relative size. So in the winter, it does grow a little bit, but in about 30 years, that will not be there. The piece will just be empty. Then the interactivity comes into play, where you can actually bring back the iceberg, which is symbolizing essentially the fact that we are both responsible for it going away and potentially responsible for trying to return it. In a similar theme, I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth between things that are here and things that are not, but I have two pieces that are over in the booth that are attached to the warming seas, the literal temperatures. One is for Lisbon, one is for Brisbane with the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, and the size of the gold, the scale of it and how it moves changes based on the real-time temperatures in those two locations, where the warmer it gets from what it should be. So if you kind of draw a line of what the temperature of the ocean should be at that location, the more gold showing up in it is how much more it is actually above where it should be. And it changes constantly throughout the day. This is another piece that I have over there that's brand new, which is, it's called Water. This acts like a small pool of water, and when you move your hand through it, it sort of ripples. But this is connected to rainfall. It can actually be set to any city in the world. And so if you were to set it to a location that might be in drought, essentially the depth of that water that you're running your hand through will be shallower. So if you set it to a city, as the rainfall changes, the piece will react and respond differently based on the overall rainfall, I guess. Just keep saying that word. This piece is called Cedar Point Reeds. It is located in Denver, Colorado. It is connected to the data from a wind farm about 30 miles east. It is moving based on the actual wind that is moving through that wind farm, and the LEDs that are illuminating are representing the energy that's being created in that. It is also interactive, but I'm just going to blast through that. This is another piece that is over in the booth. I created the first edition of this for the Venice Biennale last year. In this case, I'm not pulling down data, but I'm actually using the data of the people that interact with the piece. You are creating that data, and the idea is that you come up and you interact with the work. Hey, it's me. There I am. Yeah, okay. So you interact with the piece, and it's going to record down whatever it is that you do in front of it. It will then be played back, so that's me sort of whatever I just did there. And then what will happen is all the previous clips, everyone that has ever interacted with the piece, it will start pulling from those clips. And the whole idea is to sort of bring people together in the piece itself. This is a big one. So this piece is called Oceans, which is in Las Vegas. You can put those two weird things together. And the whole idea was the idea of bringing the ocean to the desert. This piece, every minute, pulls down the data of a different coastal city, the actual tide, how the tide is moving in and out. So every minute it does a transition like that from the gold side to, that's actually real marble. And then that's sort of the water movement, so it'll go bigger or sort of softer depending on it. And this is just one of those awesome transitions. Just looks crazy, doesn't it? It's a little crazy. And then I'll wrap up with the piece that is at the top of the stairs, which is really brand new. This is the fastest piece my studio and I have ever put together with a new medium, and it's called Carbon Wake. It's actually a little bit similar to the piece I just showed in that if you go up all the way to the left, there's a white placard with a small screen in it. And if you look at it, it will tell you a city. And so what this piece is doing is it's actually going every minute, it's selecting a city in the world, and then I'm utilizing AI to actually gather data that I wouldn't otherwise be able to get. It assesses that city, everything that it can find about it to determine the rough ratio of how much renewable energy versus fossil fuel that city is using. And then based on that, I have literally a video I shot yesterday. I have no footage of this piece yet. So in this case, this would be a city that is using renewable energy. You'll actually see that the movement of that animation is going downward, essentially kind of theoretically pulling carbon from the air. Then there will be sort of a transition. This might blind you. It is quite bright. And then as it transitions, so if you look at that placard, it would then select another city. And the next one that shows is using more fossil fuel, and you'll see that animation sort of moving upwards through the piece. And then there's that guy, just sort of, every time you film, there's always, but yeah. And then, well, I'll let it show. This is also an interactive work as well as when you walk up to it. So I will wrap on that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Well, as we've seen here, like the technology that each one of you put into your work are very different, and the narratives are also different. But if we create like a more abstract interpretation, like all of you are like trying to build like new forms of connection toward nature. I would like to start with like a quite open question. That is, what do you think you as an artist is actually contributing to the discourse on climate change? What do you think like your work can contribute toward that? Or what is your aim beyond like just like your own curiosity trying to be addressed through your work? What do you think like the people like, engaging with your work or do you expect that they can get out of it?
Yeah, me first?
Or
whoever wants to go first.
I can go? Right?
Yeah, go.
I have a really sort of simple answer of, I mean, something I'm trying to do is attempt to, can I create an artwork, which I have some of them here, can I create an artwork that is about something as, depressing as climate change and get someone to actually want to put that on their wall in their home? Like, do they want to have that in their face every day and deal with it and kind of have that reminder? Can I actually like bring that in and like kind of give you that reminder in a way where it's you're happy to have it there, but there's sort of this balance. Like I'm always, because I think it is kind of this daily conundrum we deal with these big problems, which is like you want to not think about it, but you need to think about it. And so I think trying to create an artwork that does that for you, that you look at it and you're like, oh, that's nice. And then, oh, okay, yeah, yes, I need to keep thinking about this.
Yeah, I might have a strange answer to the question, but I think that for me, big shift came from thinking, not separating technology from nature, and also starting to think about ourselves as the natural environment, so that human beings ourselves, like we have inner ecologies, our minds have inner ecologies. And I don't know that one individual can do much about climate change, so it will take sort of change of mind frame, and in a way, a change of the way that our minds function. So I think, for example, meditation practices are really important. And the way I came into thinking about AI is thinking about like technologies of mind. So technologies of mind from meditation cultures, and then technologies of mind from the Western culture, which is the culture that the technology that's endangering the environment comes from. So I think that in a way that's what I'm aiming for, is to figure out ways to change our inner minds, and then collectively, it has to be a collective action. I mean, I think a lot of us feel helplessness. It's like, what can I do? You know, there's nothing. And political, there's different ways of being an activist. There's political action, there's modeling different forms of how we can be ecologically. So, but I think that what I want to do is to sort of take toxic patterns. It's like a tantric form of like taking something toxic and then changing the energy with it. So working directly with something that is inherently toxic and then reframing it in some way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, in my country there is a different, a strange environment. Once we talk about climate change, there is someone that say the opposite. So if you bring numbers and say, hey, we are destroying the globe, I mean, they say, it's not true, maybe yes, but this number, yes, but the earth should be flat, no? We have this kind of all the time contradiction, no, of what is probably is real and what probably is also demonstrated by the number, by the fact, but whatever is happening around us. So to answer to your question, I think the art, digital art or whatever, have a critical role, because it's the only one that cannot be judged, cannot be contradicted, because art generates emotion, and the emotion is mine. You cannot contradict my emotion, okay? So if you generate emotion, you generate awareness, and through the awareness, maybe can happen something. I don't know how, but it's better than nothing, and it's better than try to talk about some topic and at the end of the day say exactly the opposite. So this is what I strongly feel, and all the time that I mean, see newspaper, hear talks about that, I say, okay, but what we are talking about, I mean, we are aware or not what is happening. So art in this point, and the artist has, in my opinion, an important, strategic and an important, strongly important role to drive this kind of awareness through the language of art, both with technology, with digital or with traditional art, and push this topic as much as possible, because we are facing a world that is not in a good shape. So it's also an urgent moment that everybody has to generate this kind of new awareness about that.
No, Ania, you were talking about like the blame that normally, like, you know, as an artist that is like talking to a public and to an audience, like people put the finger like pointing at you, like, what are you doing, no? By doing this. That reminds me of Timothy Morton in Being Ecological, like one of his latest books. He said, like, he started by saying, like, you shouldn't blame yourself. You didn't generate the problem, and you cannot solve the problem. This is something that can be addressed collectively, right. And on an individual level, we can contribute to that. And I think that is something very important. But you, Jacopo, were talking also about the feelings, like the more emotional level that like can be communicated through the work. And I think like one of the key feelings that it's important to try to translate and like build narratives around is empathy. And it's empathy toward nature, because technology in itself has alienated that in the same way that we are now more connected than ever before, and like this is through the like advancement in technology. At the same time, we are more distant and farther than each other, and that not only from us, it's also from ourselves. And this is going put in like Karl Marx that I wanted to put in the introduction at some point. but it, like Karl Marx was it talked about like the alienation or like the estrangement that technology had generated and like capitalism had generated. But we are saying all these things, these beautiful discussions, but we are still in an art fair. Where like we all flew here to try to communicate our ideas and our work. So that to me, like as someone based in London, is something that creates a lot of anxiety. It's that kind of technological sublime. That, but it's true. Like for me, like changing something, changing my flight and like trying to reduce, it's just a small contribution. If we will all do that, it will be great. But like the truth is, like eventually it's up to the governments to take decision to change regulation. How does it feel? You are like a celebrated artist. You are traveling all over the world, presenting your work. Your work is being shaped. That is something that like policies in museums are now radically changing to like try to reduce their carbon footprint. I think it also because they're low budgets. But I wanted to hear about your own feelings and your own emotions. I know it's a hard one, I don't know, but it's almost like a psychotherapy that we are doing here.
There we go. There we go. I don't know. I guess one of the things I kind of maybe shifting it slightly. I think that again, there's a given like we are all complicit. We can't get out of complicity. Even as ecological as you are, you still use the light. And it's. I think the minor reductions of not taking one flight is more performative in a way, and I think that it has to be structural change. And one of the things that I've been really thinking about is like. Thinking about like digital space and like who's building it, and that we need a new institution for the digital time. Like we've got the monastery, the university, we've invented all these institutions and the museum, but we don't have one for the digital age. And then how do we? I think like I said, ecology has to start through within technology. You have to use the structures that are there and not just sort of performatively remove yourself from them, because I don't think that actually makes a huge difference. So I guess that's how I justify, the way that I work. And I really respect people who are very stringent, and I think that that's wonderful. And we should have people who also model alternatives. How we can use as little as possible. So yeah, that's what my answer is.
It's a tough question. I mean, it's a tough topic that you're putting on the plate, and also the main topic of this discussion is this link between ecological and eco and techno is, in my opinion, a key topic of discussion right now. As the fear that we have, for the nature, we have for the technology. We don't know where we are going. We don't know how to manage sometimes, etc. And also the relation with the ecological stuff is not easy. So what we can do probably, is to leave our trace. Once we do our job. For example, in this case, for the first time, I mean, when I started to work on digital, I always said, okay, but which is my trace now in this environment, and having done this kind of choice of using only this kind of material, upcycled, recycled, whatever, is a message, that you are trying to put on the table and say, okay, we can do something. But at the end, it's not this little step that is changing the things. I think we need to create we need to create bridges of thinking, bridges of trying to design a new future, and the art has this role to create bridge. I mean, we don't have the answer, but we create questions, and the questions have to help us to think and think and think again, and understand how to manage this topic that is now difficult to set and to manage for ourselves, for our work, and for our life, by the way.
I don't know. I'll go a little further, but truly, this is the horrible conundrum that I feel like we all maybe ask ourselves every day of just like sitting there, and it's like, what can I do? And I can never do, not like, I don't know, was it good that I opened the glass? I think glass is good. Is glass good? I don't know. And I feel like, what I often try to do is kind of just bring up the conversation as much as we possibly can. But the one thing that we've decided to focus on in my studio is because we build electronics, and there's so much metal, and there's just so many materials, and even how we package things, and we sit there and we're like, this doesn't feel right. We gotta, and we try to make it better. But the one thing I can latch onto that we've been trying to do, and is a sort of undercurrent story, is trying to make like I'm trying to show everyone that we're engineering our pieces to last. It's this funny thing that everyone looks at my work and they're like, I get like a year out of it or something. And we've gone through great lengths to show people that what we are so used to with technology, the disposability of it, the fact that we all have our new phone every 3 years, and so there is this sort of undercurrent, the side mission that I have to show that there is a way to make that and make it last a very, very long time, but it's a choice. And so there is kind of this side mission that, like, most people don't believe me, that you can make technology that can last 30 years. It kind of used to, right? We used to have these refrigerators and so forth. So I don't know. I don't have this answer, and I try to put forward, but I try to find these ways to kind of have these subtle other stories beyond just, making pieces that hopefully create conversation. But I feel like even that isn't enough for me. I don't know, there's some way to act in the world that, I don't know, maybe that's a crappy answer, but.
Yeah, no, but I like that idea that, like, like art and can become like a catalyst to or an activator for engage, make more people engage about those issues. And I think in particular your case, obviously there is so much technology behind it. But do we actually know what is the embodied carbon of all that? Yeah. No, there is also a data that is extremely cryptic. Yeah. And when we are using AI now, we don't know where are the data servers and the server farms that are generating those Ghibli images. And that is to me what I feel most scary about. Because even and I have worked collaborated, I'm not gonna say work, but collaborated with some of the big tech companies. And when I have asked about the carbon footprint of those technologies that I was using, they are always vague, so even, we have one problem, and it's the data in itself that we can receive from governments, that is the one that you are using, for example, in Carbon Wake. If somebody read it, it's completely inaccessible. We don't know what to do with it. You need to be a scientist almost to try to understand it. And art can translate that in a certain way. But at the same time, for example, Ania using AI, it's we don't know what is the actual carbon footprint. So how can I feel even guilty if I don't even know what is the carbon footprint of that? And of course, there is other forms of looking at how to use technology and the massive amount of e-waste that is generated and that we use professionally and on a domestic scale, which is something that Jacopo is trying to translate through his installation by using these recycled screens. But also all the cables that are kind of behind them that are completely purposeless. It's just more on a metaphor, playing a metaphoric role on that. We have 5 minutes. So I would like to open, because I have far too strong opinions on this topic that it have been part of my research for the last 10 years. But I wanted to open the floor for any questions from the people attending here. So you can raise your hand. Is there any question in particular? No? People are getting a little bit shy. That is fine. Sorry, did you want to ask?
No, we're just whispering.
Can you whisper? Can you whisper out loud? Yeah. Okay. In that case, I wanted to add you something that I had already written. Do you consider yourself some sort of activist?
Yeah, like I said, I think on that very small level of that particular thing, yes, I want to. I think I want to change the way people think, but not a traditional sort of activist. No, I don't. Wouldn't say that. Yeah. Oh, well, okay, hold on. Like now that I think about it, I think especially in the AI context, I suddenly realized that, you know, beginning to work with it directly because I'm not a coder, I think that the whole problem of like data set bias there, yes, I want to do some, you know, I want to make it clear to people like how it works and how it like actually produces images, and then really ask questions about it because it's important. You know, I think right now with the reactionary political system that is, yeah, I don't know, trying to reinstate white supremacy or something, you know, I think we really have to think about image building in terms of identity and stuff like that. And like, so that's maybe a way that I can be an activist, is to say, okay, look, this is what happens, and then what can we do, you know, and yeah, so in that way, yes.
What about you guys?
I think, I mean, activists, I don't know exactly what we can mean, but what I say that once I flew for the first time on the glacier last summer, I was doing another stuff. I was doing another job, but I flew over the glacier 4,000 meters, and I've seen a scene that touched my stomach. And when I see now all the time the flooding that have impacting all the cities in Italy. Now, yesterday there was another one, 4 people dead, and they say that's climate changing because there was not this kind of stuff years ago. The stomach is suffering, so I say we are sensible. If I'm sensible, I think that I could start to be an activist, because if I'm indifferent, I cannot say that I'm an activist. So I think that we start to be activism or having an activism once we feel bad when you start to see something that you see around you.
Sorry, can I ask you a question? What do you consider to be an activist? Because I'm really curious, like, is it someone who like protests or?
I mean,
I think doing something.
That's it. And this is gonna be my closing. But no, but it's very true. I want Salty to speak first, and then it's okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you consider yourself an activist, or that your work is a
Yes.
form of activism?
I'm going to say yes because I'm from America right now, and I don't know how I can say no right now, because all I can think about is I got a lot to say and I got to get it out there. So I don't know how I would have answered a few months ago, but right now, yeah, I'm going to be a real activist. Yeah.
No, I mean, responding to your question, I think like we are all like, just by being here and trying to connect our work with this big question that are bigger than ourselves, I think that reaction, like that reactive emotion, is a form of activism. And I think like, often like we have associated to the 60s and 70s and the, time's up, with those forms of like activism that we think through art, like Agnes Dean's, like doing like the big landscape interventions, like those were forms of activism that they were important. But the one that we are doing now, it's equally important at different levels. And I think it's about like generating this conversation, even if they are like creating a lot of friction that need to happen. So I would like to thank you not only for your participation in this brief talk, but also for the wonderful contribution that you've done through your installations to this edition of Art Dubai. Thank you so much.